But have you played around with like Gravity Sketch at all?
I have once. It was very, very short. I like it for I call it the essence of a sketch, and just blocking out stuff. I'm just not that comfortable with it to understand what do I do with this thing now and how to like seamlessly import it into Alias and start building it. I think there is a very easy way to do it. It's just like at that point, it's already in my mind. I'm just gonna build it, no. But I think for certain things, like if you're doing something that's a very a line oriented, like character line oriented design, or if you're looking for a certain gesture, I think it's actually a really good tool to give a baseline, and then you always toggle back and forth from it. I would never really use it for like finite design.
Well, that's kind of my point, with regard to creating in VR, because if if you, especially with a car, right, and if you are creating a, you know let's just say Y0 line,
Hmm.
like your center line, you want to control that, and you want
Hmm.
to control the acceleration, and the character of it. It's a lot easier to control something like that in orthogonal view or an orthographic view
Yeah,
on a screen than by swinging your arms in the air.
I know. Yeah.
Like it's fucking Saturday Night Fever.
I completely, dude. I had like a little panic attack in that gravity sketch because like I had the car and I'm toggling it and I went like this by mistake and the car went woo. It just went like dinosaur level and I'm just like, oh, you just like you take it off
Yeah,
because you're like, what the hell just happened? But I think it just you'll get used to it. Or I mean,
yeah,
there's
you
some
just
guys on Instagram that do some phenomenal stuff on Gravity Sketch. Like
yeah, yeah,
they
yeah,
do
yeah,
sneakers as well. Like I'm sure for sneakers
yeah,
that stuff is
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Soft goods stuff like that. I just personally I like just building like some rough volume and just like putting in a quick animation, see how it sits, how it rides, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like if there's ever a program that does that, I'm good. Like, and maybe it is. Maybe Blender is actually that one that's coming up. No,
Well, I think Blender's taking over the fucking world, dude, and
they
it's
are, man.
awesome.
It's
It's
scary.
awesome. Well, it's not. It's scary for Autodesk because they need to rethink their business
Yeah,
model.
they
I
do.
think, like, because Jesus Christ, I mean, dude, I I can't see how that company is still going to be charging that amount of money for that program in 10 years' time. There, something is going to come along and go like, by the way, Autodesk, we've basically duplicated exactly what you've made,
Yeah,
and we're going to charge like a tenth of what you guys are.
yeah.
Um, but dude, I'm not hating on the whole three like VR sketching thing, and I'm really excited to try it out.
Oh,
I
it's gonna
It's
be
just
fun. You'll enjoy it.
it's
You'll
it's
enjoy it.
just it's one of those things you need to spend time with, and I'm also one of those guys that, like, if it's in the studio or whatever, and there's 10 other ball bags hanging around and they all want to have a go, I'm like, just take it. I don't fucking
Yeah,
want
yeah,
any
yeah.
part of this. I need to be left alone and to play around with it and whatever. But it's quite interesting. With I think I've, at the risk of repeating myself, like interior stuff. Like if you were sitting in a chair and like sculpting an
Oh,
interior around
absolutely.
you, great. But again, how useful is that when, like, I don't think you're doing it over any sort of like form of package or anything. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's a tricky part. I mean, if there is, maybe there is, and I just don't know, but if there is a way to lock layers, stuff like that, the cool thing too is like after you do a line in space, you can actually grab that line, rotate it, and scale it. So like that's why I was saying like it's cool for like the gestural stuff because like let's say you just have this line coming in from let's say the logo in the front on the hood and it's just going right over the belt line and it's like let's say it's crashing into the rear haunch, no? And that angle just has to be perfect. So you can literally grab it and then move it around and angle it. And just
Yeah,
that one line, or you can select a group of them. Like let's say you had a hairy
yeah,
line and then it's a whole bunch. That's
yeah,
the cool part about it. And I think, for especially for like students, I can imagine if I was back in school and I just needed to do stuff and like, get things out there and you had a facility that had VR headsets, at your disposal, dude, like I would totally be using it. No, it's just
Yeah.
I don't have. I'm not gonna spend $1,000 on a headset right now.
No, but dude, no, but dude, the Oculus Quest I think is like $300 or something like
Yeah,
that.
they
Maybe,
are. I just
ma
I still need to I need to perfect sub D before I go into it.
yeah, true.
I
Yeah.
used to hop
No,
around a lot and I would never perfect one thing. So I'm like, I'm just
yeah.
gonna try one thing at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same as well. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
You're gonna have
It's
fun. You gotta let
it's
me know
gonna
how
be
you like
fun,
it.
Dan. I'll let you know. I'll definitely let you know. And I might even I might even build something and publish it. I don't know,
That'll be
but
cool.
dude, I think Gravity Sketch specifically are getting pretty good at being able to export whatever fucking monstrosity you've made and like rapid prototype it or export it into alias and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff. So it's only going to get better.
of
It's
course, yeah.
only going to get better.
And who knows, maybe they go into Blender instead and it's just simultaneous, no? Like, let's see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's gonna be really interesting.
But
But
on the topic of like the VR meeting thing, like one thing
yeah,
that is kind of like one thing I do miss is the traveling.
yeah,
Like,
for
did
sure.
did you
Yeah,
guys do
yeah,
you travel a lot over there? I mean, you're in Europe now, so you can
yeah,
hop country to country pretty frequently,
yeah,
but do you
yeah,
guys still
yeah.
travel quite a bit for work or?
No. I mean, I'm not working in Potsdam anymore. We just live here. So just
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
no. I've it's since COVID hit, I haven't worked there. But yeah, we since COVID's hit, like, have we really? We haven't really been. We went to Denmark in the summer, which was amazing. But apart from that, and my wife's Polish, and that's like, so we go to Poland quite a bit.
That's
But
cool.
again, I think in the last year, we've been once, maybe, or twice, as opposed to like going every other month. So,
I
yeah, we're not traveling that much.
I see.
Not traveling that much. What about you guys?
No, just I haven't even been on an airplane yet. I wish. I really wanted to go take a Euro trip soon.
Really?
I really, my wife and I were supposed to go, and then it just never happened. But I was actually right before all this happened. I was in Beijing. Um,
Jesus.
I was there in the beginning of January, and that was interesting to experience because they didn't know what was happening either. It was just breaking out, no. So I was over there helping out a friend. He has a design school out there, so we were doing some teaching and stuff like that, and it was crazy though. Like first of all, it's just cool to be in Beijing and China. Like it's just a whole. If you like cities, dude, it's so much fun. No, but yeah, that was a weird time. It was just like I remember hopping in the plane on the way back. Nothing was everything was fine. Hopping on the way back, and then I just saw people in hazmat suits, and I'm like, huh. I wonder what that is. And you just get home, and then the whole world is like upside down. You're like, whoa, just dodge that bullet. I
Yeah, it's
mean, not
pretty
just
mad.
because it's in
Yeah.
China, but anywhere, traveling anywhere was of high concern, though. So, but I'm eager, man. I'm so eager to get back out there and like, I'm excited to just like, yeah, just start creating and traveling again.
But you guys have got a lot like on your doorstep though, where you are.
In what sense? Sorry, I don't
Well,
understand.
in terms of like, there's a lot within a 3 hour radius of like driving
Oh yeah, yeah,
from
yeah.
from LA. But I guess you probably get quite sick of that after a
Oh,
while. But
100%.
yeah, okay.
You could only do Las Vegas or like LA so much.
But so where do you actually live now, Dan?
So
Are
I
you
live
in
in LA, like right in LA. I'm very close
Laurel
to.
Canyon?
No, I'm right by like LEX, so like just somewhere around
Okay.
there.
Hermosa
Um,
Beach.
yeah, by the beach. Yeah, by like El Segundo. That's yeah,
Ah, cool.
yeah, yeah. So
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool out here. I love it. I love LA. LA is just like, I think it's really important to have a car studio out here, no? Because I think back in the days it was a bit more of like the old school car vibe, but today you get like I call it the Instagram car vibe. You got the G-Wagons, the Lambos, no, you get, but it's important to see those type of things around because these are high precision. These are like Patek Philippe's or Richard Milles, running around. Like these are just the creme de la creme of the automotive industry. So it's really, we're very fortunate to have those type of vehicles, roaming around a lot, and you get seeing them in this environment. There's a huge music scene out here, film. You just every time you feel like there's something going on, no, and um, it creates a nice amount of hype for when you're sketching a car and like, all right, this proposal, I'm gonna imagine it's gonna be going down Sunset Boulevard, and then so and so is gonna be driving it, and they're gonna be bumping this track, no, like, and that's my initial brief. No, I get that energy in LA, and that's really cool about LA.
And before you were living in
San
San
Diego,
Diego,
yeah, yeah.
and you're not into San Diego at all.
No, it was cool in the beginning, but it was just too slow for me. But I
So
traveled a
you
lot at that time. I was
okay,
6 months out of the
okay.
year I was out of the country, so it was fine. It was
Really?
fine.
Wait,
Yeah.
just Japan or
So actually, yeah, they. I was very fortunate. We were very, very fortunate in Nissan at that time. They sent us around a lot. We've traveled to, international auto shows. We go to our headquarters. I have to stop saying our, their headquarters, um, in the outskirts of Tokyo. And it was really cool because you fly into Tokyo, you go into like the rice fields. No, it's like huge headquarter. You'd work there, and then on the weekends you take the train ride into Tokyo, and it's like Blade Runner, like, and you're just like, oh, this is cool. And then they had other studios in Shanghai. We visit. We've been to London. It was a really we were very, very fortunate at that time. And we just like all of us, it wasn't just one of us. They sent us around a lot, and in that sense, we got a lot more cultural empathy, and we were able to understand more of like where these vehicles, how are these really like when you look at. I'm going to use this as a just an ordinary example, but like a Volkswagen Golf in London versus California versus Texas versus Shanghai versus somewhere in South America, they all possess a different demeanor. There's like over here you see things from, you just see the overall silhouette. Things look, you always have to look for boxy, more bulky, solidified design here or volumes, so to say, because they feel when you see them this small on the road and they're just bouncing around the freeway and there's nothing but palm trees and mountains, they look okay. If it's very flamboyant and it's very detail oriented and from afar away it just looks like a hairball, it's not cool. But it's funny because um like one of the cars I grew a huge appreciation to in a different country was the Lexus LC 500. I saw it in the US and it was like, oh, cool. When I saw it in Japan, in Shibuya, when you're in a taxi and it's right next to you, it's so close, the proximity of it, because everything is so tight. All you saw were like you were looking at it like through a microscope, no? Like you were looking at the jewels in the headlamp, you're looking at just the reflections and the infinity lights and stuff like that, and it was just like, dude, this car is sick, no? And at that point, I realized like, so when we are doing regional type of projects, you got to put on different hats or put on different glasses or don't put on glasses. Look at it blurry. Look at it, from far away. There's different perspectives, and I'm sure a lot of people do this, but at that, I'm gonna be 31 in December, but like for that in my 20s to understand that I was really fortunate enough to like just be exposed to that sensitivity, and just like also meet people. I love meeting people. I met the coolest freaking people just traveling around. It's so much fun.
yeah, dude? Traveling is really important. It's definitely important. Just to have a sense of empathy is a really good word for that.
Yeah.
It's very important. And
And
yeah,
before that, before going my first trip to Japan, I've never been to Asia or
well,
anywhere
I've
like
never been to Asia actually. Never.
Oh man, you gotta go.
I know, I know. I'm also yeah. I've got to go. I'd love to go to Japan. I'd really, really
You
love to
have
go to
to.
Japan. Yeah.
It's not that pricey either. Everyone thinks it's pricey. It's actually not pricey at all.
No. Well, I guess compared to Los Angeles, probably not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well.
But Los Angeles has got really expensive though. It wasn't always like that though.
No, it's gotten very expensive. But the cool thing about it, I think because of that, there's like a lot more humble places to eat, hang out. There's a lot more activities where people are just like, you know what, screw that. Like we can do our own thing. Like, and then
Okay.
also even in terms of fashion, like you see a lot more repurposing in fashion. Like you see a lot of people like, oh, what are you wearing? Like, oh, it's just like old school like Ralph Lauren or like Calvin Klein. I just ripped it up and I bleached it. And you're like, dude, that's a pretty tight fit. Like,
Oh,
where did you
cool.
buy that? They're like, oh, just sell like some secondhand thrift shop, no, like for $2.
Wow.
And then,
Cool.
but then you have somebody running around, you know, big Gucci, and you're just like, ah, whatever. That's old, man. Like,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
cool because I think because of, and I think a lot of big cities usually tend to go this way because you have your different tiers of class, but then you have just the pure people that are just looking for just a good time and just like, dude, things shouldn't have to cost that much, and people find a way out of it. So it's cool because like they have we were just looking, there's like a rooftop movie theater. They project it on like the other on the side of the
Ah,
building,
that's
and
fucking
it's
awesome.
the same price as a regular theater, and they have like beers up there, and you just chill, you meet people, classic movies, not new movies. So it's like it's a whole different vibe. It's a very, I would say Los Angeles has been really good at like curating things, like a bundle, like packages.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
something out here, like there's something out here for everyone, and that's what I like about it. Because
Yeah.
I don't like to always just do what I like. I want to be uncomfortable. I want to be like, I don't know this, but like, all right, this is pretty dope. Like, I should start looking into this more often.
Oh, is that's how you operate?
Yeah, with food too. Like, I will eat
Cool.
anything. Like, I used to be super picky. I used to not do it, and then like over time, after traveling, I didn't want to be considered that American dude. So I was like, I'm gonna just try everything.
Except, so but you didn't eat like fucking rats or any shit like that in Asia, or did
I've
you?
eaten horse sashimi, which was interesting. Um,
Fucking hell, really?
that is the gamiest thing I've ever tasted. I didn't like lamb so much for the gamey taste, but it's not like I have lamb all the time either. I've had it like two times in my life, but
Yeah.
the horse sashimi was just like I didn't know they tricked me. They were just like, "Oh, try this. It's good. It's like lamb." I'm like, "All right," and I'm just okay. I'm being respectful, and they're like, "Oh, it's horse." I'm like, "Cool,"
Jesus, dude. I think you know what I always
but it
said.
was
Like if
good.
I go out to Asia, like I've got my fucking limits. But like now, you don't really have to have that conversation because I think like things have played out unfavorably because of
Yeah,
some of this, yeah,
but also
outrageous shit that people eat.
the like for instance, I know I talk about Japan a lot, but like in Japan, like their food, their worst food is like by US standards, like our
Really good.
mediocre to pretty damn good. Like, and I mean mediocre, like it's you're still gonna throw down, like it's still good.
Yeah.
Like, and really good being just like top notch, no? And their top notch stuff is just like the thing that I learned about that culture is they appreciate fusion. It's a person of that country taking in external knowledge,
Yeah.
processing it, and then by processing it in their mind, they allow their mind to, for a lack of better words, stain or give an imprint of their DNA or um, their personal taste into it. So it comes out, let's say you're in Japan and you're eating like paella, no, like a Spanish place, and there's just that hint of like 10 or 5% of like Japanese flavoring in there, and it's already like god tier, like the the paella. It's just like they flew in the guy, there's a celebrity, he's just like sitting out there, and and then you go in there and you're just like, man, this stuff is good. And then you go to the next place and the next place, and then there's shopping malls full of food, and it just nonstop, and everything is just good. I've had the best pizza there. I've had the best Spanish food. I've
Yeah.
had the best Cuban food. I've had like the one of the best Chinese food. And then you go to these other respected regions to find their authentic, and you're just like, actually that was it's they're really close, but they did it in a Japanese way, and that's when I realized like it's okay as like as a creator, as a designer, as a anyone, as a human to leave your fingerprint on stuff because that's what makes it unique. If not, it just becomes completely like a conveyor belt and cookie cutter. Like um, that individuality is so cool. And I think traveling and just talking with people, like even just talking with you, like today. All right, the Bruce Springsteen thing is like fixated in my mind. I'm gonna
Dude,
see it. I'm gonna
you
try
got to
to.
get onto it. There's a song he did it. He did an album of like kind of there was a really prominent album that he did called Darkness on the Edge of Town,
Okay,
and
darkness on the
just if you just type in darkness and you can write it down and it will come up. But he did a it was a while ago now. It was probably like 8 years ago. He released an album of the tracks that didn't make the cut for
Oh, those are the
Darkness.
best, no?
Dude, there's a song on there called "Racing in the Street," which is just it's fucking great. It's so fucking good. You got to check it out. The imagery and the storytelling in it is just outrageous. It's gonna make you think of home, and there's like yeah, it's you, dude, you got to do it.
I'm
And
gonna do
also
it.
there's another album called The River. You've got to listen to The River.
Okay.
And then if you want
Give it all to
the
me, dude.
okay, the Gaslight Anthem, if you want to fucking get into that, if you like feeling the Bruce Springsteen vibe and like listen to an album called The 59 Sound by the Gaslight Anthem. They are New Jersey natives.
Sick. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I'm going back
fucking
home
good,
on
dude.
in December, so maybe there's something that I can go
Yeah,
to.
definitely, dude. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the Gaslight Anthem is no more, but Brian Fallon, the lead singer, he's doing a lot of solo stuff and
That's
really
sick.
good solo stuff as well. Really, really cool shit.
That's
And I think it would
cool.
be really cool to dude. There's such a fucking great music scene in New Jersey. The Stone Pony. You got to go to the Stone Pony and tell me about it.
I'm gonna ask my stepdad about. I'm pretty sure he's been there.
He definitely knows about the Stone Pony.
I'm
Definitely.
gonna get like some
Definitely.
throwback story.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, dude, I don't I think it's in Asbury Park. I think. I think.
Oh, I know
I think.
exactly where that is. Okay,
Okay.
that's
Okay. So
super
that
close.
well, dude, that was the Springsteen like stomping ground.
Okay.
I
Actually,
think
you know what?
he's
I do know what you're talking about because that place is like the like a New Jersey hallmark. Like people visit it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, definitely, yeah, it is, it definitely is. It's, I guess it's, I guess there's probably a bunch of locals that are like, this place is shit now because all the bullshit tourists come here and whatever. But you got to go and check it out because dude, there's so much, so much uh, imagery from the Springsteen songs that were inspired by places and events around just that part of the world. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, very cool. I would love to go and without the family, just go there on my own and just like take it all in and like a
One day.
weirdo. Go boozing in New Jersey. Yeah.
That might that will be fun. Jersey is a really cool place to hang out. It's there's no bullshit. Let's just say that, and that's
Yeah,
the
no,
fun part.
I know. I think like it's I from what I understand, it's like there's definitely places to avoid and but for the most part, it seems like a pretty I don't
But
know
even
pretty
honestly, even those places, like just common sense, just be cool. Like
yeah.
everyone's human, no?
Don't be a
It's
dick.
exactly. And that was one of the things. Like when I moved out from to Jersey to California, I was like, dude, this is a whole different scene. Like everyone's saying, like when people walk down the street, they're like, "Hey, good morning." I'm like, "Why are you talking to me?" It's just like it was weird because like like on the East Coast, like you wear all black, like you don't talk, you can like you only like dabble if there was something necessary, like so it was very opening because like then I come out here, I stay here for a bit, and I go back home, and then I was like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm from here." Like, you don't seem like you're from here. I'm like, "Oh shit." You just get caught in between. But yeah, it's a cool place.
Fuck, Dan. Sorry, just while I remember,
Yeah.
there's another band that called the Augustines, or
Oh, I know of
yeah.
them.
Do you know them?
Yes.
They um yeah, they are from, well, Billy's originally the lead singer. He's originally from California, but they are he's based in Red Hook,
Ah, I
and
see.
yeah, dude, super sad though. They yeah, put out a couple of albums, and have you watched it? There's a fucking great documentary on them called Rise. You have to watch
No, I have
that.
not.
My fucking god, dude,
I,
it's yeah, amazing.
Where
Yeah,
do you
and
watch it? On YouTube?
I think it's like on Vimeo of all places,
Oh,
but
okay.
it could be on Amazon. You need to rent it, but or buy it. But it's definitely worth watching. It's really powerful. It's amazing, and
That's
obviously
cool.
I've seen them a bunch of times as well, and they're just such a fucking great band. And unfortunately, they just had to. They just had to split up because they just couldn't afford to carry on going anymore. They were like,
Yeah.
it was like running a small business, and it just wasn't viable anymore. So like, Billy's kind of doing his own, I don't know, he's doing his own solo stuff, and Rob, the drummer, he's a session musician and involved in one or two projects, but and then Eric, the third guy, who's like this fucking musical architect, has got a studio in Jersey, and yeah, doing various things. But together, they're just such a fucking great outfit. And unfortunately, I mean, they're all still in touch and friends and whatnot, but
Hmm.
unfortunately not together as a band. Although I don't know, there's a lot of people would love to see them reform, and maybe this pandemic puts things into perspective.
Maybe.
But yeah, they've got a couple of albums. Risey Sunken Ships was their kind of like their debut album. Such a fucking great album. Really good. Just really unique, raw, and just emotionally charged. So
Yeah.
fucking good. Really good. I
I
hope
gotta
people
take a
don't.
look into all of this,
Yeah,
man.
you've
You
got
got
to
me all
do it,
psyched.
dude. You got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do
I
it.
needed
Yeah.
some change in my sketch music too, so maybe this is perfect.
Well, dude, I mean, again, this is all like kind of very rock influence, and I'm not only about rock, but
Yeah.
it's probably the most prominent thing. But there's another band called The War on Drugs from Philadelphia, and fuck, also just great. I mean, it is a bit of a pastiche of like this like 70s, 60s, and 70s. Bob Dylan meets like, I don't know, Tom Petty, but there's a album called Lost in the Dream that you should probably start with on them, and just like play the whole thing. It's just
Lost in a Dream,
such
you said?
Lost in a Dream. Yeah, yeah. I fucking hope
I
we
have like a
haven't.
whole notepad full of stuff.
Yeah, check it out, dude. I mean, it's like, man, I don't know if it, and like, by the way, all four of those things are, you could technically classify them as rock, but they all are so fucking different. They couldn't be more different,
That's cool.
so if you don't like one thing, try another.
Yeah, yeah. That's sick.
Yeah.
I like music when it's like that, when it's almost like they have such a certain characteristic that it's just their own. It's almost like their own genre, or not even genre. It's just their own thing. It's just them, no?
Yes. Yeah.
You
Well,
can't
dude,
really
on
classify
the
them.
but we were talking early on about yesterday about the abstract series.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And have you seen all the episodes, or is it just have you just fangirled over Ralph Giles?
I actually, so I went and right into Ralph, and then I went through the whole first, and I kind of went into the second one, and it fizzled out.
Yeah,
But
the second series I didn't enjoy as much. I mean, I don't know if I watched all of them, but definitely the first series I fucking obsessed over. And the reason why I bring that up is because the Christoph Niemann episode, the illustrator,
yeah,
um, that was probably my favorite one. And he said something really interesting at the end of his episode. And he said, like, the whole point of like love songs is not that you like writing about love is nothing new. It's been done 500 times, but it's about writing about it from your perspective in your own way, which makes your song unique. And that kind of also
That's
ties
deep.
into, yeah, dude, but it's so fucking true. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, and some things aren't supposed to be reinvented from scratch. And it's like, that's also why I'm not a big fan of like, innovation for the sake of innovation's
Yeah,
sake.
yeah.
Again, I'm sorry for the more fucking music analogies, but I'm
Go
not
for
going
it.
to apologize. I'm not apologizing. But like a Jack White as well is also one of those guys. He said,
Jack White is amazing.
dude, he's out of control. If you
I love that.
ever
That guy's
have you
mental.
seen have you seen him live?
No.
My fucking God.
No way.
You have to go and see that shit. He is out of control. He's just, dude, where I went to go see him where he first kind of went, he put out his first solo album,
Yeah.
and he was touring with two bands. He had a group of all girls called the Peacocks,
Yeah.
and then he had a group of all guys.
Okay.
And he would, like, depending on how he woke up that morning and felt, he would take both bands with him on the road, but he would decide on the day like who he feels like playing with. But he's got this whole thing of like,
That's sick.
there's certain things, for example, in music that work that we just like biologically almost respond to,
Yeah.
that we and those things don't have to be completely new every single time. Like, and he is one of those guys where if you watched a music video of his, for example, okay, without stating the obvious, you wouldn't, if TV was the same quality in 1940, you wouldn't be able to tell if this guy's music is from that period or if it's in like
That's true.
100 years into the future. Yet it's all very rooted in like, old school blues. But he would do such a he would turn those things on their heads in such an abstract way, yet it would feel really familiar, if that makes sense.
No, I,
And
I
he,
understand what you're saying.
yeah, it's I yeah, it's I don't really have the I don't really know if I could articulate it the way that he said, but it basically just boiled down to the fact that these three chords that are so prominently used in pop music, there's a fucking reason for that, and it's okay to use them. Add
Yeah.
something to it, put your own spin on it, and and by all means, if you want to do something completely fucking abstract and avant-garde or whatever, be my guest. Carry
Yeah,
on, do it. But there is something that people naturally respond to, and you shouldn't feel the need to always change it. If it works. And I
Yeah.
think there's a lot to be said for the same thing in design. It's I mean, look at the fucking iPod. And even in cars as well. I there's certain proportional things that work, and
Yeah.
by all means try new proportions, but you'll be drawing, even if you try not to, you will naturally be drawing on those things that work anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's like also when you're doing like figure drawing or something like that as well, no? Like there's a certain there's an unwritten anatomy to things, whether even in music. It's always interesting to hear the psychological uh capabilities of music, no? Like again, like I was hearing something about like 808 kit what do you call them? 808 beats, like that kit, like apparently it does something like where naturally like you your body tends to gyrate, or you always like tend to swing your hips in a certain way, involuntary. It's just
Yes.
something like it's one of those
Yeah.
things where it it's almost like a like you just know when you calibrate with it. No,
Yes.
it's quite interesting because also a lot of Latin music, like I've been listening to a lot of Latin music recently, and it's just like a lot of them use the same kits, they have the same background instrumentals, but like it's once again like when you hear the message, like it's even the way that they either distress their voice or the way like when you enter, and there's even like you could go Stanley Kubrick where you just go pause for like a whole minute, no, and there's nothing, and it just drops out of nowhere, and you're just like, it's just the momentum, like it's just a it's so much more complex, and that's a cool thing of like as I get a little bit older, a little bit more mature, and like I talk to more and more people, like even just now talking to you, like I'm like, all right, I see music a little bit more different now, like, and it's really cool to always have that because like as you start looking at more and more things, it helps you figure out how to like create those like little tiny subtleties to things, like in life,
Yeah. Yes.
and not stress it, not overdo it. Like you said, sometimes you don't have to innovate the whole thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just,
Yeah.
as you said it really, really well. It's just like, dude, just do speak it with your voice because that might just be enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Fucking totally. Totally. Yeah. 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 There's this is also something that I felt so stupid on. Like, I was trying to figure it out for such a long time. I think, especially with like exterior design, because there's certain things that definitely work, and you can so quickly overcook it
Mm,
by trying to do too much, by going like, I want to do something innovative, and it's like, well, dude, like there are things that work, and you should really fucking pay attention to those things.
yeah.
And there is still room to innovate within that, um, and I it's and but then the conflict, at least personally for me, was always going, well, if I'm not doing anything new and I'm using this proportion of like, the A pillar coming down into the center of the wheel, and a long dash to axle, and long nose, short back. Then like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But I think you've like allow in. I've had to do it a couple of times where I've said to myself, okay, I'm gonna allow myself, just as a pure exercise, I'm gonna allow myself to 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 let's say steal. I'm gonna allow myself to steal the classic proportions of this car, and then I'm just going to do something as simple as changing the sculpture around the intakes on the front,
Yeah.
and giving it a different light treatment, for example. I'm going to do something that simple, and then I'm going to build it. And then at the end of it, I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to look at the original that I stole from, and look at the two and go, like, actually see that as far as cars go, or as far as a piece of design goes, I've got something that is completely departed from the original, and I was heavily inspired, and or slash I stole the whole design from the original, but the original was also borrowing from another design and another era, and it's there's this chain reaction. And I think the hard thing is, like, establishing, overthinking, like where's the balance between stealing and inspiration,
Mm,
and then, but then if you are borrowing or stealing so heavily from something that's come before, then how do you add your own personality to it, your own touch to it, without overcooking it,
yeah.
without creating something vulgar? And I think that you only get to that point, I think, especially with design, by, like, you've got to it's not something you're gonna fucking do overnight. You know, you've got to. It's a craft that really requires an immense amount of work and discipline and passion, and you've got to put your 10,000 hours in, and even then, it's probably not enough. You know.
Yeah. Because that
Um,
10,000 hours is it changes.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's but yeah, it's like I think it's a bit of a it's a very expansive subject, and
Yeah, it is.
it's not just inextricably linked to car design. I mean, it's it's uh, it's design, it's art in general, and there's that great
Yeah.
saying, you know, great designers or great artists borrow, and sorry, good artists borrow, and great designers steal. You know, and the art is then to do it in a way that nobody can even see where you've borrowed from. You know,
Hmm.
um, I don't know. It's I don't
That's
know what.
interesting. That's an interesting point because in some sense, like, I mean, part of just building a library of experience and not individually but as a collective and knowing what works and what doesn't is kind of already like that the stealing mythology, you know, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
catalog, but it's also interesting because I think also, I mean, how I was taught in school, in college, was to always draw inspiration. No, like that was a big thing. Like you look at inspiration, but the big thing back then was like the architecture inspiration because Chris Bangle was really into that, and everyone was trying to do typography too and everything. But um, the cool thing about that it kind of teaches you is like you almost look at it for you almost create this hypothetical algorithm that they possibly use, and you use that, you take out the exponents and then you put it into your case, and then you fill out those variables. So like
Okay.
I always used to say that like let's say like right now I have this image on my desktop and it's like this box, and then one of the sides are blown out and it's looking to the horizon. You just look at that and you go, all right, how can I use that on a car? No, like that's very vague, but you can start to think about, well, what if like if this is a city type of vehicle, like a robo taxi or something like that, could you blow out have everything solidified and only one side is pure glass, or glass with piano black and stuff like that, so you can give this idea of security where if you know you're exposed, you know you have all of this shelter around here, but you can still have like this kind of painted landscape, this picture, so to speak. So there's a duality in it. So it was interesting to learn how to do that as well, of like how to use those simplified stories. And also like one thing I used to teach, I teach it on the side a little bit, but like for some of the students, I would always say like it's really important to understand like I would always make this like kind of faux formula where it's like x plus z and then plus y or divided by y, and y is always your variable, like that's what you bring to the table. So whether you said, listen, my proportion is going to be like a let's say a Hummer, like a Hummer H1, but I want this type of taste. Make sure you always put what you have to offer from your point of view.
Yeah, right.
Not saying that, hey, I'm half Cuban and half this, and I'm just gonna like I'm gonna no, not that. Just like listen, when you woke up today, like what was what song? Like there's that secret sauce where you put into it, and then when it comes out, whether someone used your same exact inspiration or your product concept, there is still something that differentiates yourself. And I think like that's a huge thing. Once you start to, I'm still trying to learn it, but once you kind of try to tackle that day to day, it's actually quite fulfilling in some sense, because then you start to realize like one of the most difficult things I feel like any of us would ever go through, and I still feel, especially in today's like Instagram era, like your personal taste tends to get diluted easily if it's overexposed, so you try to keep it to yourself. But even when it's exposed out there, within, a studio or even with the friends, you always want to make sure like one of my biggest fears is like, oh, that's not Dan's stuff, like, but it's mine. I'm like, oh, that's like my biggest fear. Like, I hope someone says like, oh, you lost it, man. There was this one time I came back from Nissan internship, and one of my friends her name was Maiva, and she looked at one of my sketches, like I was doing, it was like the first week, and she looked at it and she goes, Dan, what happened? You lost it. And I was like, that's my biggest, since that, I have PTSD. Every time I do a sketch, I hear her voice going like, dude, you lost it. Like, so I just, that you've noticed all my sketches, they're just, they have a lot of color. There's a like glitching. I just always go like, if I died tomorrow, like what would be, if that was my last sketch, would it personify like what I've learned? And it's a
But
really twisted way of coming at it.
but then like if I see your sketches, I know immediately they belong to you.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's, I mean, is that a, is are you is that, does that make you feel good, or is that something that you don't want to happen? Because
No, no,
you've
I
got it.
do want to make it happen, but it's the you always want it to grow, and you always want it to make it look like, I don't know. It's kind of like the Andre. We were talking about Rick Rubin. It's the Andre 3000. He made a really good album. Like, what do you do next? And when he's trying to figure out, shit, is that sonically refreshing? It's like, no, dude, you could literally slap on like a Mariah Carey song and you do it over, and like it's gonna be legendary. Like,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
that's a different way. I'm not saying like I'm never to that level, but I'm just like at some point, I think all of us, when we're looking at our own work to a lot smaller scale than like what he's doing, you're just like, man, is this worth the signature? And that was like Ian Cartabiano was on your podcast, and that was one
Yes.
thing he would always
Shout
tell
out to
us is
Ian
like,
Cartabiano.
Dude, that guy is the best freaking teacher. He is amazing. He sits there with you. He figures it out, figures out your problem. He caters to you, like, and when he did a demo, it was like, shit, he's still better than all of us. But
Dude,
he would always say, like, are you proud of it? Like, would you put your name on it? Like, just simple things like that. You know, like that was really cool. And I think going back, looping the whole conversation we had, like, is art center worth it, or any of those like colleges? It's really what you get out of it. For me, halfway, it was not worth it at all. Not at all. But once I grabbed something and I understood the merit of it, dude, I would do it. If you told me tomorrow, would you do it again? Fuck yeah, I would. I would totally go again. I would totally go again. If I had to, even if it was double the price, I would do it, because like my life,
what?
I would have never, I can't afford that shit, trust me. So that's why I'm saying it. But like the way that my life has came out of that, like I just like my mom was, she had me at 17, single parent. Like I lived in New Jersey. We lived in a tiny like apartment. Like it was just never, I never imagined that I would be a freaking car designer living in Los Angeles, traveling around the world, like
Yes.
drawing shit and like having people look up, very little people, but people eventually look up to you, whether it's one or two
They
people.
definitely look up to you, Dan. Don't worry.
It's
Don't be
like, it's
modest.
really, really freaking cool. And I think if anything, like,
Is that the 5-0?
yeah, it is. Welcome to
Is it?
Compton. Compton's right over the street. That's why.
Is it really? Yeah.
Yeah. Apologies. Those are just those are some background music.
That's
But
okay.
anyway,
Yeah.
like the school was just so like cutthroat. The people were cutthroat. It was so competitive. But at the end of the day, you realize like everyone did it because like no, everyone wants good people to come out of their system, and
Yeah.
it flushed out a lot of people. I can't speak for it today. I haven't been in that system, but in general, like I just it's cool. Like if there's anything like to say about just like wrapping stuff up too, like social media, it's good, bad. Just use it for what you need to use it, and just let
Yeah.
go. Like do your thing, be confident, like believe in yourself. I think every time I do a sketch and I'm not in it, like it just I'm always like, oh, this is shit, this shit, this shit. And then when you're just like, you know what, Dan, like get your shit together, like get this sketch out, pretend everyone's watching you sketch this thing, and then you do a good sketch. Sometimes it's just the mental hack, and that's one thing that when I mentor some students, like I always tell them, like learn how to hack your mind, like learn how to like devise your way. That's why I have a blanket over my thing and I have blue lights, because that's the only way I hack my mind into thinking like this is how I'm going to create that certain thing. So there's some of us that are really easygoing. You could put them in a tiny little cubicle with a pen and they could just create away. And there's some people more difficult like me that are just like I gotta surround myself by certain things that like, and then I can create. No, um, but we can all do it under pressure eventually.
But Dan, how long did it like? Was there a moment where you went like, okay, fuck, I think I've kind of got it. I mean, I know it's not a, it's a never ending thing, but I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
is there a click? Was there a clicking moment for you?
That's a good question. I never thought about it. I think I thought I clicked numerous of times. And I still think I've clicked, and I don't think I have, to be honest with you, if
Right.
I must be very transparent. Like, I think I know what I'm doing. I think that, like there's certain things my process, but every now and then when I see something, it just never ending, like you always have to readjust. Um, you always have to recalibrate the tool because with the age, the gearing might get a bit loose. So therefore, you might have to tighten things, or you might have to look at it with a different lens. Like, I think if anything, like the point where it clicked was like, I think it was like once I realized I ran out of money in art center, I was just like, you got to get this shit together. Like, whatever, you got to just stick with it. And I remember reading something, or I think my mom told me, she's like, if you don't believe in what you're creating, or if you don't believe in what you're doing, like, how the hell do you expect anyone else to believe in you?
That's so fucking true. That is so true.
And
It's
then
so true.
once that kind of click, that took a while to click. It was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, but
Yeah.
once that click,
Thanks,
and
mom.
yeah, I know, like, but once that clicked, and it's cliche, but it's true. Like, listen, like, there's some times where I just have to put on a game face and be like, yeah, this is it. And I'm just thinking there, like, I don't like this. This is really bad. Like, I wish I would have done this, but you got to sell it, Like, and when you sell it, then just like, I like how you said it. Maybe you could just change this and you're fine. You're like, oh, that wasn't bad. Like, why did I make that whole scenario in my head? Like, I think we all have this design anxiety, like of just like, is it good enough or that? Because we're so picky as well when we look at things. So when we
Yeah.
create, you're always like, I always I have a list of people in my head that like I think of like what would this fashion like Alexander McQueen, what would he do? What would like Jean-Michel Basquiat, like what would I have like a classmate, his name is Thomas. He was like super influential in my early art center career. Like I always think like what would Tom do? What would my friend Chris do? Like what would so and so, like I have a list of people. Like every time I'm about to finish something, I go like would, and then I ask like what would Dan do, and like would it be respectful to that name that I just said, or would it be to, or is it as innovative and as crazy as like the approach that those other guys did? Like it's just to put yourself and to push yourself in a way that like, all right, man, maybe I gotta really pick up, like just redo those renderings. Like it's gonna take you, you're not gonna sleep, dude. Just fucking do it. Like just do
Yeah.
it because they would have done it. No, and it pushes you. And that's the way that like I've never had someone around me to like push, like I've always been always by myself. So that's the way that I push myself a lot. And I tell people like if you have that similar problem that I do, then like that's one great way to approach it. There's many other ways, but yeah, I hope that helps somebody that's listening.
I'm sure it will. Did you always have like an internal drive, Dan?
uh yes, because I think I was always told that I could never do anything.
Who told
Um
you that? Teachers.
Classmates, family members, people I looked up to, like, yeah, I had a lot of meltdowns, like, where you just go like, no, I can't do this, and you're just like, dude, this is your one shot, like, literally, when you really think about it that way, you're just like, dude, like, I'm just gonna do whatever. Like, I'm pursuing some other things on the side now that, I don't really talk to people, but when I do talk about it, I'll just be like, yeah, that was stuff that like every day I was like, no, this is not going to work. But hopefully it does work. And if it doesn't work, I won't talk about it at all. But anyhow, like in terms of like just getting into this, like I had family members like, oh, he's in LA, like he just like he's screwing around over there while I'm over there in art center, like sleeping, you're sleeping underneath tables and like you're just cranking out people. Just it's always easy to comment on things, and I still remember I had a in fourth grade I had a history teacher. I had my how did my stepdad's mom got me, my grandmother got me a book, How to Design Cars Like a Pro. I still have it. It's like
Tony Lewin.
yeah, exactly. It was like the only
Yeah.
book out there. That was my textbook. That thing used to come with me everywhere. It was in fourth grade, sorry, it was sixth grade. Um, that thing would come with me everywhere. It was a bio. I didn't know, like, I remember there was like a syllabus where the guy was like, "Oh, I check emails." I'm like, "Why do you check emails? You should be designing." Now I know, but but you looked at all the stuff and you're just like, dude, this is so that was my secret drive. I never said that to anyone. I remember one time my teacher, he's like, "Oh, I just got a brand new Mustang and this is so cool." And I was like, "That's cool. I want to be a car designer when I grow up." And he looked at me and he took my book and he threw it away and he goes, "Stop dreaming." And I was just like,
What the fuck is wrong
it
with
was the
what?
weirdest thing. My mom threw a bit, like she cursed
Went
him out every,
crazy. Yeah.
thankfully, but for me it was just like the most traumatizing thing, like, and ever since then, like as things like that have progressed, like you have people around that just say no, like I've always tried to use that as like, you know what, the best and worst thing I can do out of this is like prove them wrong. And um yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's just I think every time those were my realization and those were my drives of like always taking negative and trying to put it in a different spin. Like I'm one of those people that I have to sometimes crash a little bit or bump around to feel where I'm at and then just go like you ricochet and you go woo and you just go straight in. That's how if visually if you were to see my design process, it's a bit zigzag and then a line. Some people are just a straight line and those are the people I look up to, and but I could, even if I try to do that, it's not the same thing. I have to go through my
Yeah.
path.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
has their own
Yeah.
racetrack.
For sure. For sure.
But I
But
always I always keep people in my, like, everyone, there's just so many fucking inspiring people out there like that we all work with, and it's so cool to just be around these people. And like I always secretly, like, I always benchmark myself against these people. Like, dude, I if I could just be half of them, like that's cool. So like as I'm sketching, I'm like I gotta be half of Tony, or like half of Ian, or half of one of these guys. Like
dude, yeah, it's I think it's difficult not to sometimes, and of course you shouldn't, but it's difficult not to go like, well, fuck, if only you could be a percentage of somebody else or whatever the
yeah,
case is. And of course, everybody's got their own unique path and perspective and whatnot, and yeah, so I
yeah.
don't know.
And but then also it's not also to just look at them. It's also to learn from them. It's cool to also learn through people's like. This is the beautiful thing about like what you're doing right now. You're letting people hear some of the, the deeper stories. Like you get to, it's like watching a movie. Sometimes you learn a lesson just by watching a movie. And next time you'll think twice about when you cross a red light. You'll look both ways instead, just because of that movie. So it's
Yeah.
really cool to hear people's stories and like just really the transparency of it because dude, when we all, I don't know how you felt, but like getting into car design, you just think everyone is just like soldiers, like they're just no flaws. They've never had a bad sketch, and then sometimes like once I started working, and I'm like, hey, can I look at your sketchbook? And someone's like, no, don't look at that, and you're like, come on, and you open it, and you're like, I told you they're just like the hairball sketch, and you realize like everyone has flaws, no, like, and that was a cool. I think I chilled out a lot once I became a professional, and then I was like, dude, everyone has like bad sketch, everyone has good, like, and that was the coolest. That was the most eye-opening thing too. It was like I can breathe now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's dude, it's one of those things that you kind of it isn't just like it isn't just linear, because it's everything that you just said is totally accurate. You realize when you get in there that even people that you have put on this monster pedestal that are amazing at what they do have shitty sketches, or they have bad days, or once upon a time they were really bad at what they do.
Yeah.
Everybody was a novice once. But also, you as a, if you want to get to the level that somebody will actually employ you as a designer to become a professional, you have to push yourself along the way.
Yeah.
And they are going to be, and so getting, you're going to go like, you're going to push yourself to the limit, and then you're going to go like, fuck, I need to just back off a little bit. And then you're going to push again and back off and push and back off. And at times it's going to be super stressful, and you're going to have like, you're going to be anxious about, your level and your pecking order, and you're going to compare yourself to others. And then, as you said, you are going to have moments where you're just going to go, okay, fuck, I can breathe and I
Yeah.
can be normal. I can live a normal existence within this field.
Yeah.
But it's along the way, it's navigating that development process that is not an easy balance to strike. So
That's actually a
yeah,
good way you put it, the development process. That is exactly what it is. It's like you're adhering to people, and yet you're learning from that, no? Like, also, like, I think it's super important to like just have, as I mentioned before, like I have a group of guys, like it's my friend Gary, Tarek, Chris, Lewis, and then Yang. There's like a small group of us. Like we have an Instagram chat room. Like every single day we talk. Like, and if there's someone has something to get off their chest, they just get it out. We don't talk about it. No, like, and like somebody's like, hey, this is happening. Like, are you guys going through something similar? It's like, dude, it's just, don't worry about it. Like, and
yeah,
it's always good there to also have people like within your industry that you can really rely on, and like just be human too. Because I think a lot of the times I get intimidated just speaking my mind in a professional setting. And there's a time and place for things, and but us being emotional, it's cool too to just pick up really dope friends, like, and just have them there, like. We travel together all the time. We talk. We check in with each other. Like, I think that's super important too, just to have that click that your family,
yeah,
your
for sure.
your new
Yeah,
family.
absolutely. Yes, yes. Dan, I we should probably wrap this up, dude, because it's pretty fucking late here. I mean, it's not
No
that
worries.
late, but I've got to clean up all this shit, and
No worries.
yeah, we're busy moving around rearranging our apartment at the moment, and yeah, tomorrow's
Well, I
going to
hope you
be
got
intense. So.
some decent stuff out of it. Sorry if I
Dude,
rambled off for a little bit.
no, no, but I also went into a few abstract rambles as well. So, but no, it was really fucking good. It was really different as well. So it was
Cool,
cool
cool.
to kind of just go off on a
Just
bit of
just
an
talk.
abstract. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So, dude, yeah, thank you very much. It was really, really enjoyable.
yeah.
And
Thank you. Thank you,
hopefully,
honestly.
yeah, no, you. I mean, thank you. Thanks for your time, but no, you're welcome.
It's really cool to just sometimes it's cool to just say this stuff out loud and hear yourself, and you you kind of learn again. You have to put those things back in and live by those. So it's also really cool to just have a platform, just like just air it out, and it's cool to also, like, as I said before, just see other people doing it. So keep doing it, man.
I
All
will.
the best of luck.
I will. I will try, dude. Thanks a lot.